Roxy's story, what every pet owner needs to know before saying yes to surgery. For those of you who don't know, this is Roxy, my husky. She's not just a dog, she's family. Roxy is the original rock star. She's the dog who was there before the followers, before the brand deals, before any kind of social media career took off. She was there when it was just me, a camera, and a lot of uncertainty. Over the years, millions of people came to love her online. She became part of my identity, part of my daily life, part of my success. And today, I want to share a very important story about something that happened to her. It's a difficult story, a painful one, but it's also a story that could help other pet owners avoid the same heartbreak. As you can see now, Roxy is a tripod, a three-legged dog. She's doing okay, she's alive, she's still sweet. She still wags her tail, but what happened to her did not have to happen. This entire situation could have been avoided. And I want to make sure you're armed with the information you need, because one day you may be forced to make a medical decision for your pet when they're sick, scared, and unable to speak for themselves. Roxy, come here. Sit. Good girl, good dog. You're such a good dog. How this all started: Roxy currently lives with my dad. He takes care of her day needs, her vet visits, and her checkups. She's 12 years old now, but if you saw her running around, you'd think she was 8. She's always been incredibly active, classic husky energy, even in her senior years. A few years ago, a small bump appeared on her right front leg. It didn't hurt her, it didn't slow her down, it didn't bother her at all. Over the years, it may have grown slightly, but it was never aggressive, never painful, never interfering with her quality of life. Because of that, none of us were overly concerned. Still, my dad, who is a physician, thought it was responsible to mention it during her next vet visit. And he was right to do that. When they went in, the vet did a full physical exam and said something encouraging. For a 12-year-old dog, she's doing amazingly well. She's fit. She's active. She looks much younger than her age. Then they suggested something that seemed reasonable at the time. They wanted to take a sample of the bump and send it for cytology, meaning they would look at the cells under a microscope to determine whether the lump was cancerous or benign. At that point, no one was talking about surgery. No one was talking about amputations. It seemed like a routine diagnostic step. The call that changed everything after the appointment. My dad gave the vet my phone number so they could call me with the results. When the vet called, their tone was serious. They told me the cytology suggested that the bump was cancerous. They used the word sarcoma, which is a type of soft tissue cancer. Naturally, hearing the word cancer changes everything. The vet recommended that Roxy come back in for a consultation with a surgeon. As a physician myself, I understand how difficult surgery can be on humans. And I could only imagine how challenging it would be for a dog, especially one like Roxy, who relies on movement for her physical health and mental well-being. She's a husky. She needs to move. She needs to run. She needs stimulation. So before anything happened, I gave my dad a list of very specific questions to ask the surgeon, questions I believe every pet owner should ask before consenting to surgery. Is this type of cancer aggressive? Is it likely to spread? What is the 5-year survival rate? What is the expected quality of life after surgery? Is surgery truly necessary given her age? What happens if we do nothing? What are the risks, not just best-case scenarios? Roxy was 12 years old. At that age, quality of life matters just as much, if not more, than longevity. I trusted my dad to ask these questions. The surgery I didn't expect. I didn't speak to my dad the day of the surgical consultation. The next day, he sent me a picture. It was Roxy lying in the backyard, sunlight on her fur, a cast on her leg, resting. "She's doing great," he said. "The surgeon said it wasn't a big procedure, in and out, same day." I felt uneasy, but seeing her healing gave me hope. Over the next several days, though, things started to change. Roxy had to return to the vet multiple times for wound checks. The surgical site was heavily bandaged, with sutures and staples underneath. My dad couldn't inspect it himself. She was on antibiotics. The bandage stayed on. The visits continued. I noticed something troubling in the photos. The bandage looked very tight. Still, I tried to trust the process. The moment everything went wrong about a week later, my dad called me while I was working in the hospital. His voice was worried. "Mike, I need you to come home and look at Roxy's leg. I don't think it's good." I told him that if something was wrong, she needed to be seen immediately. But he said the surgeon wasn't available for another 2 days. I came home anyway. What I saw was devastating. When the bandage was removed, her paw was dead. There was no blood flow. It was cold to the touch. There was a foul smell, gangrene. It was immediately clear that the tissue had been without circulation for a long time. I knew, in that moment, that she was going to lose her leg. What I didn't know, and what still haunts me, was why. Was the bandage too tight? Were critical blood vessels removed during surgery? Was this a known risk that wasn't properly explained? Was the surgery itself unnecessary? Those questions still don't have clean answers. The truth from the surgeon, when we finally spoke to the surgeon, I asked directly. Was this a surgical complication? Was too much tissue removed? Was the blood supply compromised? His answer was honest but painful. All of the above. The tumor had been larger than expected. More tissue had to be removed. Circulation may have been affected. The bandaging may have contributed. Then I asked about cancer staging. Roxy's sarcoma was stage 1. Early, localized, slow, growing. At 12 years old, Roxy's expected lifespan might be another 1 to 2 years. That's hard to say out loud, but it matters when weighing risk versus benefit. In human medicine, if a procedure risks more harm than benefit, we stop. We reassess. We don't proceed blindly. But for Roxy, the decision had already been made. The only option left was amputation, not just the leg, but the entire shoulder and scapula, which is standard in dogs to prevent further complications. Life as a tripod, I asked about prosthetics. The surgeon explained that it would require another surgery, extensive rehab, and that older dogs, especially huskies, often don't adapt well. Then he told me something important. Dogs don't experience limb loss the way humans do. They don't mourn it. They don't dwell on it. They adapt, and surprisingly, that turned out to be true. Roxy recovered. She healed. She learned to walk again. She still wags her tail when she sees me. She still loves her treats. She still sheds like crazy. She's still Roxy. She does get tired faster. She's at higher risk for arthritis. Her body carries more strain now. But she's alive. She's loved. She's still herself. The lesson I want you to learn this story isn't about blaming one person. It's about being informed. When your pet gets sick, you are their voice. You must ask hard questions. You must understand risks, not just optimistic outcomes. Don't rush decisions because someone says, "It's a simple procedure." Ask, what happens if we wait? What happens if we don't operate? What will my pet's life look like after this? Pets are not immortal. And sometimes, preserving quality of life matters more than extending life at any cost. Roxy is still my rock star. And I hope her story helps protect someone else's best friend. If Roxy's story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps spread awareness and support us more than you know.